All right, hello everybody. My name is Yacid Ortega, and today I am trying something new, which is trying to engage the audience with some knowledge related to research. As some of you might know, I am interested in alternative forms of research or arts-based research, creative forms of research, etc. So today I start this sort of series of videos, instructional videos to explain some of the work that I have done and more like the insights of how I do the work. So today is just a little taste on data analysis. So let me see. I'm gonna try to share the screen today and see how it works for you and for me. So it's the screen number 2. There you go. Share the screen. And the screen is being shared right now. And I'm just gonna try to get my notes here. Okay. Yes, again, my name is Yacid Ortega, and today I will discuss about how I typically analyze some of the data that I got from my walking methodologies. I like to walk in the streets of the cities and collect data in the streets with taking photographs or videos or sounds. I'm particularly interested in the languages and cultures and how the languages and cultures intersect in the city. So today I'm sharing with you one piece of data that I collected recently, and then I'm going to guide you through the process that I typically go through when analyzing the data. And I have called this for today the pluriversality of the cultural and linguistic landscapes of the diversity. So let's see. All right. So first of all, before doing any type of data analysis, one of the things that I always suggest folks is to analyze the data using a concept in mind. What do you have in mind when you are analyzing the concept? What is your epistemology? What is your paradigm? What is your worldview? What is your framework? It's easier a little bit if you have some kind of idea of what are the lenses through which you are looking at the data. Okay, some other researchers do it the other way around. They look at the data and then they analyze the data and then they come up with sort of framework to draw on some conclusions and findings. But for the purposes of this video, I will go through a couple of concepts that I am using for this particular video, and then I will explain to you how I use these concepts to go about the data. For example, one of the concepts that I have worked for a while is the idea of linguistic landscape or linguistic landscape. So it's a field of work, it's a field of research, and this dynamic field of linguistic landscape typically attempts to understand the motives, uses, ideologies, language varieties, and contestations of multiple forms of languages as they are displayed in the public spaces, sometimes the private spaces as well. But for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to talk about the public space. So the linguistic landscapes, aka LL theory, defines the public space through the visibility and salience of languages on signs, advertisements, and official notices, things that you see posted in the street, for example. And this sort of framework to see the language in the streets, on the walls, extends beyond verbal text to include the visual, spatial, and material dimensions of language use, functioning as a powerful maker of identity, power, and inclusion. So that's more or less the first concept that I've been working today. The second concept, which is very interesting that I have been working for the past few years, is the concept of pluriversality. And some folks have already talked about this, including Zapatistas and Escobar and Mignolo have already talked about this as a way to conceptualize pluriversality because it has been employed as a critical lens to move beyond descriptive individuality. So imagine that pluriversality centers on thinking and being otherwise, critiquing the universalist epistemologies inherent in colonial modernity and emphasizing the re-existence or the persistent assertion of non-universal systems of knowledge and life practices. For me, pluriversality helped me name a decolonial vision of a world where many words fit, or as the Zapatista says, un mundo donde todos quepamos, in which multiple ways of being and knowing coexist and relate without being reduced to a single hegemonic Western worldview of one world ontology. And I want you to keep this in mind in the analysis of this data today, the idea of one world ontology. So you will see that the lenses that I'm seeing this is through plural worlds or plural universes. And then one last concept that I want to share with you is the how I'm going to do this. And to this, I draw on Pink, who has been working for a while on visual analysis. And according to Pink, visual analysis is a reflexive and subjective process that focuses on the social relationships and sensory experiences surrounding an image rather than just its literal content. I like it because she argues that meaning is not fixed within the picture, but is constantly co-created through the interaction between me as a researcher, the participants, in this case, the data that I collect, and the cultural context as well. So as you can see, it's closely related to the idea of pluriversality. So the methodology, so to speak, or the method that I use utilizes semiotic analysis to decode how language, images, colors, placement converge to create meaning and convey messages. That's what Pink has been saying for a while. And the analysis structurally differentiates between top-down signage, which generally reflects institutional or commercial power, and bottom-up signage, which is driven by individual or community agency, according to Shohami et al. So in this video today, I briefly gonna give examples of this second part of the bottom-up analysis. So I will now briefly show you how I analyze one single photo of my walk. So this is a photo that I took on a bus shelter at the corner of Keele and St. Clair in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Last week when I was walking by, it was very cold. It was after it was snowing or raining snow, something like that. And it caught my attention because it had a lot of posters that was the posters were like put on one on top of the other. Some of them were scratched, some of them were removed. So I was always curious about what the in-depth meaning about these posters on the bus shelter, this particular bus shelter, or this particular context. And I wanted to dig deep a little bit more on what is being presented here. And what I did was just like I took this photo, like an overview, and then this is a little bit of a close-up because when I do the analysis, I try to divide it into different quarters. So you have the upper left, the upper right, the bottom left, and the bottom right. Some other people prefer to break it down in more quarters, so to speak, or more like gray spaces. But for the purposes of this presentation, in this particular overview, the surface is glass or plastic, that is strong glass that is at the bus shelter. I think it's tempered glass in my view. And it has been stained and dirty with tape paper residue and graffiti. As you can see, it rained. It had residues of snow as well, and there were some water droplets are visible on the glass, and there is wet gray sky outside, as you can see in the very very background. And through the glass on the left, you can see part of the street, parked cars and low buildings. If you can really, 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 you zoom into the bottom left, you can see a park, you can see a house, etc. So little by little in this analysis, you can start seeing that the things are connected. And sometimes when I teach these workshops about walking methodologies, it's about paying attention. When you walk, you just walk from point A to point B, but you don't pay attention what's going on. So this is an example of pausing and reflecting on what is in front of you. So let's do a little bit of the analysis of the upper left. right? So I do have this magnifying glass. I'm gonna try to use it here, right? I'm gonna try to pause it here so you can have a second to look. And at the top left, a large dark poster for a music event or party with a white text on black background mentions eyes like static, right? Which is one of the performers of this sort of festival. And there is a QR code at the bottom and logos for all the bands that are playing. As you can see, these are probably tribute bands for Green Day, Blink 182, Sum 41, Yellow Card, My Chemical Romance, Jimmy Eat World, all ages, as you can see, delicious cocktails, beer, food, prices for ugliest sweater, doors open at 7 p.m., tickets, and there are some sponsors, the 99, Samurai, Staff's Corner, etc. So the very, very ugly emo Christmas sweater party number two. So you can zoom in and do lots of these things, like this deep analysis of what this means. So this is a party that who is this for? Is this for me, for a 50-year-old, for a 20-year-old? For, in my opinion, this is a party like anybody who likes emo music or punk music. You are more than welcome. See, as you can see in the sign right here that says all ages show, and I like that particular part. Um, what else? Let me see if I can just zoom in the next part right here, maybe right there. Um, there is a white sheet printed paper in Chinese with black text, several paragraphs of text, likely an advertisement for services or a course, including dates, times, and phone number, as you can see at the bottom. And there is there is already a little bit of analysis of racism here. Somebody says you speak English, and some other cross it off as well, as you can see here in this particular part. I'm gonna try to use the pen to see if I can actually highlight that particular part right here. Maybe not. Ah, yes, it says here, speak English. You are in Canada, speak English. So see, like there are so many things that you could do here, right? Right here, here that you are in Canada, speak English. So imagine racism against Chinese people, but they don't know that this is a message that is not intended for you. It's intended for somebody who speaks Chinese Mandarin. Why? Come on, stop, 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 stop doing that. Okay. And I believe what else is here at the bottom? Oh, yes, I like this one at the bottom of this one, of this first quarter. There's a bright pink poster with a group photo of people in colorful costumes or dresses, perhaps. And the text in what appears to be Cyrillic script, likely Russian or any other Slavic language. My friends who speak Russian can post comments on what this is about. And there is also a couple of QR codes as well. Maybe this is a party. Perhaps this looks like a wedding party. Perhaps it's a, um, what is it? When you're gonna get married and then you throw this party the day before. I think it's hen party in the UK or bachelorette party here in Canada, right? So as you can see, I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit if folks there can help me out with what it says in Russian or any other language similar to that, right? And there is this one as well, like on the right, that it says in Spanish, pierde tu miedo al inglés, inglés para hispanos hablantes. So this is English for Spanish speakers, as you can see here. So it's interesting that the the poster here is in Chinese Mandarin, yet they write speak English, but then here is the poster is in Spanish for Spanish speaking people, but because it's encouraging to speak English and learn English, then you don't have that treatment of speaking English you're in Canada. So I start noticing the racism, right? The racism. So it's not always is positive. So that's the first quarter roughly, and there's another one here at the bottom. Maybe hold on a second. Let me see if I can go ahead and try to point that out. Like at the bottom, see you see here. There's you can briefly see a little sneak peek of the other poster that I will go in a minute. But you see there are staples here, and then pieces of other posters that have been previously posted as well. So all of these things have a meaning if you know what I'm saying. So let's see what else going on. Okay, so let's go to the next. Let me see. The next one is the upper right. So what is next to it is on the top right, a partially visible notice that says braiding all hair types with a phone number and the word text in large letters. And there is also a turquoise or teal poster that says babysitter course in English, with a cartoon style graphics. There's like perhaps a stethoscope, maybe. No, yes, no, that's more like a bee right here, right? First aid cross, maybe it looks something that looks like bandages, the registration number, there is some another QR code. Let me see if I can zoom in really quick because it looks like this is a central poster here, as you can see here. Like you can zoom this in really cool. Like, look, it is babysitter course 11 to 15 years old, designed to deepen and enhance the responsibility of the youth feel when caring for younger children. Again, the poster has been ripped. There is a here looks like it has partnered with Canadian Red Cross, and there are other symbols such as the here the first aid kit, some band-aids here, the QR code, so you can have um access to more information. There is $110 plus taxes to get your training. And guess what? We can see again. There is another course to learn English target for English speaking people, as you can see right there, right? Um, Let me see it. But this time the poster is in black and white. So it looks like the other was the original one, right? And this one is the same one, but in black and white. First class is free. You can find information in the website. You can find an email. You can have Instagram. So little by little, you start noticing all the layers, literal and symbolic, of the posters, right? Meaning that there's layers of layers of layers, words within words, as pluriversality says. Okay, let's move on to the next one, the lower left part. At the bottom left, a large poster with a light blue top and white turned edges featuring two animals, likely it's like a dog or a calf, maybe, yes, baby cow, facing the camera, looking at us, right? And the big test, dinner or family. Aha, followed by smaller text advocating for animal rights against sentient beings like ourselves, suggesting animal rights or vegan message. So I'm gonna try to zoom in really quick to this one because let me see. There you go. So you have the animals are getting into our data because they are sentient beings, and yes, this is a sort of an advertisement either for saving animals or perhaps veganism as well. And then we have the same idea here in which there is a vandal who is sort of like trying to get their voice on the paper, on the advertisement, saying cow is tasty, dog not so much. So as you can see in the other one, we saw the racist thing here, and then here is also offering my response. It almost looks like they want to have a conversation with those who created this poster. So look now, we'll start looking at the non-human beings in the poster as well, right? What else do we have? And towards the right that I was showing you in the other one, there are several tonal layers, scraps, faint graffiti underneath. You see the graffiti MSA, and then there's like an asterisk or something here. Let me see. I think I went to the one that it was not there. There you go. Um, yeah, look at this. And then we also have um, a black poster, the black poster that we were trying to see on the other slide as well. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. A black poster near the middle bottom label something like 7-level sound or similar with an image of an audio mixing setup or a computer screens and include a QR again and the price text as well. And you can see that there's like a they're promoting music production, but heavy music production. I don't think their target population is hip hop or any other type of mainstream music, but I guess for the skulls, bullets might be some kind of heavy metal or hard rock that they're trying to advertise here. And towards the bottom, as you can see here, the little part, let me see if I can go over there here. The very bottom, it's a torn blue fragment of a paper hanging down. So it almost suggests something was here. I used to be here. I lived here. And now I'm not anymore. Someone has ripped my life away. And then the next one is going to be, and the last one is going to be the lower right. In the lower right, you can see two posters, a yellow-orangey poster, partly torn, also showing part of an animal's face of the previous poster that we saw. So it's another poster, similar poster. But the text of this yellow poster it says beer and dumpling pairings. It looks like an Oktoberfest. It is an Oktoberfest suggesting food beer event. And it's interesting how this overlaps another copy of the variant of the dinner or family style imagery. Um, on the side, there is this advertisement for dog portraits. Let me see if I can get you a little bit of a zoom here. Right? Like on this side of these other two posters, the advertisements for dog portraits. So on one hand, animals should not be eaten, and on the other hand, animals should be praised or cared or turned into art. So we have this person who takes photos of your dogs. Notice that it's not all no cats, but dogs specifically. And this is so interesting to me because I can start seeing now how the non-humans are within the data here. So we can see the cows, we can see the animals, and we can see the beer and what it looks like a hamburger perhaps. Um, turn into animated or humanized, so to speak, right? So this is all for the data that I have today. Obviously, I could go more in depth with you, but then I have only little time, and you can probably on the chat box or on the comment section, you can also tell me what your thoughts are on this poster or this section, right? And what your thoughts are. So for me, a little bit of my insights, what I learned from these tiny experiences, several things. One is like multiple codes, right? Like QR codes across the board for more information and registration. And you saw that thing. And several languages were represented, at least in the ones that we saw today, English, Spanish, Chinese, Mandarin, and Slavic language, Cyrillic script, etc. And you can see English, Spanish, Chinese, and Slavic language on the shared as shared surface, meaning they have a surface, and in the surface, these languages are shared. And each poster addresses a different imagined audience: Chinese speakers, Spanish speakers, local youth, animal rights activists, musicians, people needing childcare skills, English classes, etc. So we all have different needs. Yes, yet we are sharing the same space. So rather than one dominant language mediating everything, rather than one dominant code mediating everything, the board lets several linguistic words side by side and sometimes overlapping physically but not erasing one another, or sometimes erasing one to another, right? Scratching from one another. The second thing is multiple themes, events and parties, music shows, Oktoberfest style event. Then we have another theme of educational or self-improvement offerings in English classes for Spanish speakers or babysitter course, the personal savings, the hair braiding, the activist ethics, the animals right poster. So those were sort of the main themes of the whole data that I'm showing today. And some posters center commerce and entertainment, for example, care and reproduction of life, or ethics and activism. So those are some more or less the themes that are around this. Like for example, the dinner or family animals right poster questioning the species hierarchy, and this is so salient within the pluriversality as well. So these reflect different ideas of what matters: pleasure, profit, community safety, justice for non-human animals, pluriversality. Does not try to resolve them into one viewpoint. For me, it makes visible that multiple value systems operate in the same city. Many old posters have been ripped off, leaving layer paper and glue behind, and the whole bus shelter, looks heavily used. The glass, the conditions and the environment of this bus shelter looks rough because of the environment, the snow, the rain, even people scratching on top of the boards as well, being graffitied as well with simple black markers. And the overall impression for me looks like a busy, slightly chaotic community, not this area where information constantly overlaps and renews. So as you can imagine, people put posters, take posters away, so it becomes like a cyclical information system that never ends unless the whole bus shelter is destroyed. And as a conclusion, from diversity to pluriversality, what I think is that traditional linguistic landscape work documents which languages appear, where, and how they index power or marginalization. Pluriversality pushes this further by reading such seen as material traces of distinct worlds trying to cohabit space rather than simply code one on one as a neutral backdrop. So the image that I'm showing you today shows this clearly. The nightlife, the care work, the migration, the animal ethics, and the small businesses are not just topics to be discussed, but different imaginaries of what a good life is layered on the wall. And then the second part of the conclusion is that the politics of visibility and co-presence, for me, from the point of view of universal politics, it reframes the board as a minor infrastructure where marginalized projects, the migrant language learning, the informal economies, the non-human lives, can appear beside mainstream commercial events without being fully absorbed into them. And something that I wanted to say is like this bus shelter is across from a mall or a shopping area. So as you can imagine how they coexist together, right? The mainstream commercial events with the informal projects from marginalized communities. So the physical overlaps, the tears and partial cover-ups record an ongoing low-level struggle over those world gains visibility, but no single poster or language entirely dominates, as you can see in the data that I am sharing with you. And just to finish this part of the conclusion, from the perspective of my work on pluriversal applied linguistics, put into practice is that the mix of scripts, QR codes, informal typography, and community-oriented messages, bottom-up linguistic landscapes exemplify pluriversality and pluriversal applied linguistics insistence that everyday multilingual, multimodal practices are valid forms of knowledge and pedagogy, not deviations from a monolingual norm. So the scene that I have shown you today therefore supports a move from studying language as a discrete rank system to studying how heterogeneous voices and pluriversal literacies, as Perry has already pointed out, co-create relational spaces. A world where many worlds fit, as Pluriversality says. Un mundo donde todos quepamos, made visible in one small pane of glass. So the symbols of a world within worlds, or a world of worlds, taken together, the board is a micro pluriverse. Many languages, scripts, and graphic styles, many ontologies of the human and non-human, the pets versus food versus bodies versus commodities versus sound versus celebration versus care and responsibility. So many temporalities, one night events, ongoing services, long term ethical campaigns. So it doesn't idealize unity, it shows contingent, contingent, sometimes conflicted co-presence. So the tension, messy but shared space where different words assert themselves without final synthesis, exactly what pluriversality tries to name. So just to finish, I'm going to show you this one. In light of pluriversality and the work that I have been doing, the photo that I show today demonstrates a tiny urban pluriverse, or a micro pluriverse, if you say. Flyers in English, Spanish, Chinese, Slavic language share the same bus stop surface, and each presupposing different audiences, histories, and needs, yet none fully erases the others, although you saw the erasure of one or two of them. So we need to pay attention to that. But overall, the coexistence of nightlife ads, animal rights messaging, childcare training, hair braiding, and language courses shows multiple value systems, pleasure, survival, care ethics, etc., co-present rather than subordinate to a single narrative of what matters in the city. For me, viewing this through pluriversal politics, the messy layer that overlaps all of these, the board becomes a micro infrastructure of non-domination, a space where minority, migrant, and non-human concerns can appear alongside commercial events, gesturing or suggesting towards a politics that lets many cosmovisions inhabit the same urban fabric. So, in all, linguistic landscape analysis and pluriversality together suggest that what looks like a visual noise in public space is actually evidence of many coexisting worlds and language orders, not one unified system. So, in the bus stop that I walked by for a while, and I took this photo, the overlapping multilingual posters show that urban signage is a lived negotiation between different communities, value systems, and ontologies sharing the same material surface. So the question for today in the comments box is, how do you see your neighborhood now? What are what is the presence of your neighborhood and the linguistic landscapes on of your neighborhood? What do you see? What is missing? What is not there? What has been ripped? So mention in the comments below. Thank you very much. Here are some of the references that I used today. Here is the information for connections. Follow me on Instagram, which is that where I post most of this work. Send me an email if you want to hire me, if you want to know more about me. There is my link tree. That's it for me. Thank you very much. Bye.